Good morning or good afternoon. I am very happy to be with you and to have the opportunity of joining our conference. Today, I would like to present a piece of our survey we conducted on the Polish people concerning their fear of missing out attitude. I believe that there are some relations between this phenomenon, information literacy, and the digital well-being. We often face the problem that information literacy is not a natural competence, even for so-called digital natives. We have to learn it, and if not, we risk or see problematic internet use either in our lives or in the lives of others. Problematic internet use can result in risky or addictive behaviors like overconsumption of the internet and social media in particular. The phenomenon of fear of missing out belongs to such behaviors either. We assume that it can be related to lacking skills in information verification or evaluation, and it can be a limitation in our societal and civic life, as it focuses people's attention on social networking sites predominantly. On the other hand, the scale of fear of missing out can be decreased by the consideration of digital well-being, the attitudes and behaviors it consists of. Let's see the key concepts and definitions for this research. As you can see, the fear of missing out was defined by the authors of the most popular scale to measure this phenomenon, most often used in the studies, the team of Andrew Przybylski in 2003. It does not refer directly to the internet or social networking sites in its original form. However, soon after their first study, it has started to be used and understood mostly in this perspective. As for the concept of information literacy, I refer to one of the newest, I believe, definitions offered by the Chartered Institute of Library and Information Professionals in 2018. It is not in the form of the list of skills regarding information processing, but it focuses on critical thinking, the autonomy of information processing, and indirectly being safe in the information world, which is mostly a digital world in the current perspective. Therefore, we refer here to digital well-being and digital well-being skills in particular, which are needed to maintain mental and physical health in digital virtuality around us. Digital well-being skills are obviously related to digital literacy, and the latter is limited to the digital sphere, but activities on information in the digital sphere depend on information literacy as such. Digital well-being can be perceived as either competence or outcome of digital literacy, but also in the perspective of information processing, critical thinking, and its social consequences. Therefore, I decided to explore if and how a relation exists between fear of missing out, information literacy, and digital well-being, and in particular, if there is a space for digital well-being perspective to be included in information literacy studies or education to avoid or limit the fear of missing out phenomenon. Therefore, I posed two research questions concerning relations between information literacy and fear of missing out, and fear of missing out and digital well-being. These main questions are supported by more detailed explorations like, are the people with high indicator of fear of missing out information literate? Is there any relation between being information literate and problematic internet use? And if so, what kind of such a relation can be observed? The results presented here make a part of a larger project with the purpose to determine the level of the fear of missing out phenomenon in Poland, in Polish population. The survey was conducted in two waves in 2018 and 19, and the third one was conducted in August this year, also due to a specific pandemic situation which could have influenced the social networking sites usage and problematic internet use. I had the pleasure to be a part of this research team. We conducted the survey on the representative sample of Polish internet users aged 15 and older. Questionnaires used in both editions included the fear of missing out scale as the main part, and a few other scales measuring, for example, social networking or smartphone usage. They were also partially different, including other scales different in both editions. For example, we asked about some aspects of information literacy and online self-presentation in the first edition, and about phabbing, nomophobia, and digital well-being in the second edition. I refer here only to the results related to information literacy and digital well-being, and the general results and other issues were presented in other publications. However, general results should be mentioned here to give the context of the study. As I mentioned before, we surveyed the population of the Polish internet users, which amounted to almost 27 million people in 2018. Concerning that number, we determined in 2018 that approximately 16% of them, of the Polish internet users, were so-called high FOMO, or people with the high level of fear of missing out indicator, or I will call them later or for further the FOMers, which is shorter and easier. Most of the respondents were mid fear of missing out people on mid-level of this phenomenon, and 19% were on the low level of this phenomenon. These results changed very slightly in the next edition in 2019. The only difference is in the FOMers group, and it is 2% lower. However, it can be perceived as a statistical margin, which has no significance for our further explorations. The most discriminating variable was the age. I mean, the youngest respondents most often appeared to be in the FOMers group. Let's consider a few questions concerning skills that I believe belong to the information literacy skills. The first one is the one about publishing content on social networking sites. If we refer to, for instance, Jan van Dijk's model of access to new media, publishing content in different forms requires advanced information and digital skills, and is not limited only to digital aspect, but information processing as well. As we can see, the FOMers publish different content much more often, mostly photos, graphics, text, but also films or live transmissions. They are more active on social networking sites than other groups. Next, we asked about using social media for different goals, like reading the news, finding information, knowledge, opinions, entertainment, or inspiration, or expressing one's opinions. Here we can also see that the FOMers are more active using social networking sites for all these goals. The largest difference can be observed in the second goal, which is an escape from everyday life. However, other groups are also active in all these categories. One can say that the respondents declared that they often use social media for different purposes. Most of them are somehow related to information searching. In the next question, we tried to determine how careful were the respondents in their social media activities. The deliberative use of these sites is also related to information literacy, as it requires evaluation and selection of information, either found or published. As we can see, the differences are not very large here, because those with mid or low level of fear of missing out are also careful in these activities. They also significantly less often run a profile systematically, as we can see in the next to last point. Of course, these are declarations, which can be interpreted as that the respondents are aware of the risks, but not necessarily they really act as they declare. Now, let's move to digital well-being and its potential relation to fear of missing out. Digital well-being is about healthy habits while internet usage. We asked if the respondents were keeping such habits, which indirectly means if they were aware of such a thing or not. Interestingly, but not surprisingly, the people with low fear of missing out indicator are those who keep these healthy habits, but the FOMers are aware that something is wrong with their decisions or choices, and they admit honestly they do not do that. This honesty is visible also on this slide. The FOMers declare mostly caring for their offline development or using apps, accounting for their online time, or learning about the topic, but they do not do anything which can actually improve their online activities. I mean, they do not limit themselves in these activities, do not control the time spent online, although using the apps, but with no consequences. They care for their relations with the others less than other groups. In comparison, the people with low indicator mostly control the time spent online and care for their interpersonal relations. Digital well-being can be considered regarding oneself, but also the others. We asked then if the internet users care for others and their potentially unhealthy behaviors, risky behaviors, or problematic internet use. As you can see, the answers to these questions are almost evenly divided between yes and no, which it is hard to be commented, I'm afraid. Some people do that, and there is also a group that does not do that. It would be very interesting for me to know why it is like that, but it requires rather qualitative study, which I believe we can once conduct. However, positive answers do not prevail, which means that some support or education is strongly required here. The last question is related to the previous one, as it is about different activities of those who answered positively. I mean, who did care for the problematic internet behaviors of the others. As we can see, the FOMers most often control the time the others spend online or try to spend time together with them. However, they do not use apps for time measurement as they do for themselves. Those who are in mid or low fear of missing out groups most often control time spent online, spend time together, care for offline development, or apply a specific regime of internet activities. Regarding the results of these two waves of the fear of missing out survey, we can carefully say that the FOMers are information skilled, but they care less for their digital well-being. They are highly skilled in publishing information in different formats. They declare care for their online behavior and safety. However, they only declare a few types of care for their digital well-being. We can carefully assume that they possess knowledge and skills concerning information processing and dissemination, but they need development of attitudes stronger than before towards internet activities. I perceive attitudes as the third component of the competences or qualifications as defined by, for example, European qualifications framework next to knowledge and skills. If information literacy can be seen as such a qualification, then digital well-being can specifically belong to the attitude aspect of this qualification, as development the attitudes towards the internet being an environment of everyday information activity. I believe we can and should focus on not only skills but attitudes towards information activities, as mentioned in the information literacy definition I referred to. Digital well-being is the question of attitudes and awareness of the specifics of the digital sphere and digital culture. Therefore, we should probably focus on developing positive habits and reinforcement techniques, then controlling and regime, to promote self-regulation and social learning. There are social norms and cultural competences to be discussed. Information literacy and knowledge of threats do not guarantee protection against problematic internet use, nor its negative consequences like fear of missing out. I believe that the development of attitudes as potential protection against risky behavior needs to be recognized for those living networked lives in the post-truth era. Thank you very much.